just when you thought your wallet was safe.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all. It's time once again for the Andy and Rem Show, episode 154. And if you're playing the Remington's Blinds game at home, then before I remove the thumbnail, you'd like to guess whether Remington has his blinds open or closed. A nice fun little game for the audience to participate in there. And here we go. As you can see, the blinds are open. Remington exposed to the world. Hello.
Hello there. The clocks went forward, and so we just got that little bit of extra daylight, which I'm celebrating in style by leaving the blinds open.
Good choice.
Yes.
So, did you think your wallet was safe? Did you think GW, a few weeks ago, they had that massive bombardment of leaks and releases and teasers? You thought, okay, I'm safe for a while now, but then...
Well, Andy, as I will mention in our new special feature, if one looks over, down on the earth, down at the chessboard, so to speak, in the macrocosm, okay, you'll see that there's a greater plan to do with that. And I shall tell you in Remington's Hot Tips.
Sure will, a brand new segment coming up on this very show. That's not the only new segment we've got, but I don't want to spoil everything. Got to keep people on their toes in the audience. We have got some people in there, and apparently Remington has become quiet. So, in the Remington tradition, he must have backed away from his microphone after we did the audio test. So let's just crank up his volume a bit. That should do it.
How's that?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Blood Knights, first of all. Blood Knights were one of those strange units from the good old days of Warhammer Fantasy. They were available in Finecast at an absurd price. And for that reason, I don't think they were very popular, even though the models were very nice. And now, all these years later, we've got new plastic kind of Blood Knights. They're not exactly the same.
They're pretty darn good, though, aren't they, Andy? I mean, I've got to say that we're looking at a new Vampire Counts release, really, aren't we?
Essentially.
And it's pretty awesome because, 2 or 3 years ago, I sold my Vampire Counts army. And I've got to tell you, I'm tempted to get back on the horse.
Get back on the skeletal steed.
Yes, get back on the old rocking horse. And these are terrific. So yeah, the old Blood Knights, Andy, they just seem to creep up in price, didn't they? Until, like you said, they basically became pretty much unaffordable. But look, they've come back in certain style. I think these are phenomenal, especially the standard bearer right there. So,
Very fancy.
Andy, what are Blood Knights to the uninitiated?
Well, back in the day, Blood Knights were essentially vampires, weren't they? And their horses were not skeletal back then. Their horses were kind of vampire horses as well. So they were your vampire foot troops or horse troops.
So these are former humans that had the blood kiss, right? They basically got bitten by a vampire. And so they became vampires themselves. So very different from a Black Knight, which is basically a skeleton horseman, okay? So these are like the elite of the vampire soldiers, right? So these were pretty much like a machine, a deadly machine on the battlefield, but very expensive to field, right? Can you see that changing? Do you think they're going to fulfill the same function? Heavy cavalry, basically.
Probably, but if you think about it, at the time Blood Knights came around the first time, what competition did they have in the heavy cavalry department? Chaos Knights were probably the big one. Was
Chaos
any
Knights,
other
yeah,
cavalry in the game, I don't think, came close to those two in terms of
yeah.
power, off the top of my head.
The sort of what they called the Griffin Riders.
The
Oh, them.
demigryphs.
Yes, Demigriff Riders, maybe.
They were a bit
But
later on, though. That was when cavalry started to get really big and weird.
I hear you. But these guys can also, like, you can heal wounds and bring them back from the dead, right? That's the whole point of undead.
Who
So
knows whether that's an option now?
yeah, who
But
knows?
but Blood Knights back then were one of the two kind of heavy cavalry that could just kick everyone's butt. If there's another one, someone in the audience will remind us. But now there's so much cavalry competition. There's a cavalcade of cavalry competition. The Stormcast have like 4 or 5 of them on their own, and every race that comes out seems to have something big and ridiculous, doesn't it?
There's a cavalcade of cavalry competition. Well said, Andy. Well said. Your elocution is just phenomenal. People love it though. I love it as well. So yeah, what's your price prediction for these guys, Andy?
Well, if we could actually compare it to the old Blood Knights as well, the old Fine Test ones never got below like £50, did they? I'm sure they were even more than that at one point for 5 models, which was obscene compared to some of the plastics. But these ones, they're probably bigger than the old cavalry because everything seems to get bigger nowadays. So
Um,
I think we'll be looking similar kind of price point to the old knights.
well, Stu Gibson says the fine cast ones were £50, and these ones won't be too far off it. And he also says Mornfang cavalry were right up there too. That's
Yes, they
true.
certainly were.
Now, in Games Workshop fashion, do you think these guys will be multi-part kits? As in, you can um, create two different kinds of mounted cavalry, or do you think they're just going to be the Blood Knights themselves?
Do they already have newish Black Knights, or have they? They came with in the Hexwraith kit, didn't they? Hexwraiths
That's
or Black
correct.
Knights you could build.
Yeah,
So I don't think they would put like a more basic knight in with the Blood Knights. They may give you some different weapon options or something.
got you, got you. So the other
But you never know.
difference
They
is,
could have a totally different kind of vampire knight.
well, I don't recall the old Blood Knights having female. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall them having female riders. But this one, it seems that both sexes are represented
I don't remember any.
here.
Yeah, they're been a lot better with that GW in recent times. Just kind of mixing them in. They're not always like, here's the woman character of the army. They'll just be smattered in amongst all the troops.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these look terrific. And when we look at some of the other new releases for the I keep saying vampire counts, but really we should be saying Soulblight Gravelords.
Yes, we should.
Not as catchy, is it? Come on.
Nope.
So people have said, when I say people, I mean other videos channels that have covered these models. They've said they didn't like the standard and they wish you could have a blank one so you could paint your own
Are these
picture.
like elite painters saying this who want to freehand their own banner?
Maybe. I love that image. It looks sick,
I
right?
actually like the banners when they come with the image already on it like that. For someone like me who can only freehand a smiley face pretty much.
Yeah. Um, what do you think their saving throw is going to be? Because one thing, do you know, like old Warhammer Fantasy Battle, right? You could pretty much predict what the saving throw was going to be. Like if a character had a shield, right, and no armor, you think, okay, 6 up saving throw, yeah. If it had light armor and shield, 5 up. If it had heavy armor and shield, 4 up. If it was on a steed, then 3 up. If it was on a barded steed, right? Barded steed, heavy armor and shield, then it's a 2 up save. So a D6 2 up save, right? But now with Age of Sigmar, you can't really predict what the saving throw is going to be.
I think that
Um,
the base stats are only a small piece of the overall effectiveness pie nowadays,
I
because
see.
there's so many special rules that are unique to each unit. So they may have a save of like 4 plus, but then they have a rule that whenever they suffer a wound, roll a dice. On a 2 plus, instead of taking a wound, they get a wound back instead, or something.
Okay, so we're looking at extra rules. Again, what I'm saying is you can't see on face value, can you? What the saving throw should be. So these guys could well be 4 up saving throw, which could be exactly the same as I don't know, like a giant lion with no armor at all, also having 4 up saves.
They could have a lot more
Sometimes,
wounds. They could have special rules that
yeah,
deflect the blows. They
I
could have
don't know.
they could regenerate wounds.
Sure, but do you know what I'm saying, Andy? It's nice to like look at the model and think, okay, yeah, I know, I kind of know what the armor's going to be because of what it's
I know
modeled
what you
as.
mean. Back in the old day, the individual unit rules were pretty simple and straightforward, and it was the game rules that were really complex. But in Age of Sigmar, the actual game rules and mechanics themselves are simple, but it's the units that have all the complicated individual rules. So it's kind of switched.
Well, I mean, okay, just going on face value, you'd assume these guys have got a good saving throw, right?
You would
Because they're
think.
literally covered in army, right? Armor, and they'd have quite a few wounds, and they'd be highly skilled in combat, so they'd have a good to hit roll, right? And some sort of devastating charge rule, I guess.
Makes sense.
Hmm. But probably not as fast as other cavalry types. But what do I know?
What does anyone know in this crazy world we live in? But we've got more undead stuff to look at. More Soulblight, Gravelord type stuff.
Andy, you've been into undead in the past, haven't you? Have you still got your undead army?
Yes, because when I built my Vampire Counts army, I built it mostly from Mantic models. So I've also been able
Yes.
to use it in Kings of War over the years. But it was originally built as a Vampire Counts army. So like the Mortis Engine and the Dire Wolves. So there are some
Yes.
GW models in there. Got Crypt Horrors.
Now, do you think this new release is going to have Mantic miniatures quaking in their boots because you know that we're going to see some zombies? We're not going to see ghouls yet, but we have ghouls in the new Games Workshop newish. But
Well,
with this release, does it squash the competition now?
I don't know because there are some really nice skeletons out there for a start. Zombies, I haven't looked into them quite as much. Skeletons are always a bit of a favourite for old school fantasy people, thinking back to the likes of Jason and the Argonauts days.
Sure.
So everyone's on
And
the lookout for hot new skeletons, and there's a lot of competition in that realm.
I
The
can't help.
new zombies we're going to look at in a minute, I'm not sure whether they're going to conquer the zombie market again, and we'll talk about why when we get to those in a minute.
Well, I can't help when looking at these skeletons, and you can see Captain America there with the Star Shield, right? I can't help thinking, don't they look a bit like Ottoman soldiers? You know, with the flag, they've almost got the uh, the Ottoman Empire logo there. They've got the sort of the pointed hats. They kind of, or maybe Transylvanian, right? It's kind of stayed faithful with the curved swords. It does have sort of a Central European, Central Asian vibe to them,
Of
which I
all
love.
of all the releases so far for Age of Sigmar, would you say this is the one where they've changed the aesthetic of the race the least since the old world? That's how it appears to me.
Yes, yes, well spotted, Andy. I mean, these guys look brilliant. I think the other thing is what they've done with all the new miniatures. They've made them less ranky. Like when things were on square bases, they were limited in the poses they could have, and now we're on round bases. They're a lot sort of the miniatures can be a lot more expressive with their arms and legs, can't they?
I can't really think of one GW model in recent years that is confined to its base. Everything overhangs a little bit now.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I like these are brilliant, and like I want to get the Cursed City for the goodness that you see in that box, um, and it seems like they've backed that up with just basically a whole new army for undead, um, which I like. I like these guys better than the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I like them better than the Flesh Eaters. So if you're looking at an undead vibe army, for me at least, I think this is the one. And it's looking like I might have to jump in.
Jump straight into the open
Um,
grave that they've left as they crawled out.
yeah. I love the blue kind of zombie you've just flicked past there. She was like
It's good.
blue. She choked to death there. And what do you think about all the gear on the zombies' backs? Like they've literally climbed out of their coffins with the
Some of them
gravestone.
I'm not that sure about. I think it's okay if it's just the odd one. It's got a big clump of dirt or something on their back.
Well, it's definitely going to slow them down, isn't it? I mean,
It
what's he going to
depends on the
do to?
magic that's powering them, I suppose.
I mean, if that guy was running at you in pitch battle, what could he actually do? I mean, he could headbutt you, or he could sort of fall at your feet.
I think if you just extend your hand and just place it on his forehead,
Ah,
that's he's not going to do much. Unless he suddenly goes upright and like jabs you with that stick, but then he'd overbalance himself and fall backwards onto the headstone.
that's a proper big brother move, Andy. That's what you do. I don't know if you've got any little brothers, but when you're a lot bigger than them and they have an absolute, uh, wappy attack on you, right? You just hold them by the forehead, don't you, like that? So maybe
Sure do.
that's how you deal with these
What
guys.
do you think about all these
Unless
zombies being armed with weaponry that looks like it takes some kind of thought to wield as well, like a two-handed hammer? That's not something you
yeah,
associate with a zombie.
the big brother move won't work on the zombie wielding a scythe and a double-handed blacksmith's hammer. So you have to be
Interesting.
very careful with that move, Andy. Andy, is that you there as a zombie? Because he seems to have the same sort of beard as you at the minute.
That is certainly not me.
Hmm.
Where's the magnificent hair?
Well, it's time can ravage, I'm afraid.
Maybe in the grave it can. Well, on that
But
note,
yeah,
how
they're
about some
great
bats?
miniatures, very characterful. Are they an upgrade, Andy, from the old zombies?
They certainly are. The old zombies weren't very good, and they were some of the weaker zombies available out there, which is rare from GW that something in their range is way down the pecking order. But these zombies have definitely propelled them. I'm not sure if they're actually at the top of the zombie world, but what we can do actually, if people on the Andy and Rem Show Discord server or the Facebook group want to post any zombies out there now that you think are better than these from GW, then maybe next week or the week after, we'll go through and see if GW have conquered the zombie and skeleton worlds with these new releases and what measures up out there in the community.
Like these. The
Bats.
old zombies were kind of comedy. I liked them, and the bats. I mean, it's a pretty low benchmark, really, wasn't it, to improve on the last zombies?
Yeah, if
On the
you're
sorry,
the
on the last bat.
sculptor on your first day at Games Workshop and they tell you, okay, improve on this and handed you the old fell bat, you'd be thinking, yes. It's
You
the easiest
branded.
job you could possibly have.
Yeah. These guys still look a little bit comedy, with the spread open legs, kind of like hovering around. But that is what bats do, isn't it?
I think they've kept them fairly true to the terrible fell bats. So you can tell they're an evolution from that point. So I think that's intentional that they've made them look somewhat similar, but like a good version of those.
Yeah. I mean, I would have maybe thought about one of the bats sort of biting the head off something, or you know, or maybe if it picked up the head of something, popped it off its corpse or something, like just to give it a sort of a more terror. I suppose you could do that yourself, really, couldn't you? But yeah, what's the function of a fell bat? Is it just to be an annoyance?
Well, as
What's the,
someone that's played a lot of undead in Total War Warhammer, I can tell you that the purpose of bats is to annoy your opponents, especially their war machines. Don't know whether that function still works for them in Age of Sigmar, because frankly, we haven't played it in a while.
right?
And in the realms, there seems to be a lot more ability for units to teleport around the place. So whether you can get into the back of their army and to the weak spot, I don't know whether that's still viable nowadays. Once we've played a few games, I'm sure
Yeah,
get back into the swing of it. Certainly, old school, that was the old bat strategy. You
yeah.
don't want them fighting anything that's actually can fight back at all.
I think it's great how, you know, Warhammer Games Workshop have put out these miniatures that aren't Stormcast. It's cool, man. Really
I
good.
actually
And
saw on one of the Facebook groups the other day someone asking if GW have given up on Stormcast because they haven't had a release for like 10 months or something. And you can imagine the kind of responses that guy got. Like,
what?
they've been the most ridiculously over-supported faction since release. I think you can accept a few months without a new Stormcast hero.
What were people saying? We want more Stormcast.
One person was, and then everyone else was pointing out, look how much stuff you've got compared to all the other races. Look at Fire Slayers. They haven't had anything really.
No, I mean, you want to see some battle reports from, Soulblight here, Soulblight Gravelords versus Gloomspite kits. Versus, you want evil against evil. Or destruction against evil. Well, it doesn't always have to be those golden warriors. So yeah, is there any more? Is there any more of these undead fellows? Is that it for
There
now?
is some more stuff to look at in the undead department, and first we've got these guys, who clearly look a bit Bone Reaper-ish.
Yeah, we saw these last week. So this is Underworlds, right?
Yes, I don't think we saw all of them.
No, we just saw him. So this is.
I think this
Ocelot
guy
Bone
looks
Reaper.
quite cool, actually. I'm not so keen on this one, and this pose seems to be the big thing at the moment. We'll see another miniature shortly, maybe even two, that have almost this identical pose, but we'll see that in a minute. I quite like this look. That looks quite cool to me. That one's alright, not as nice as that previous one. I do kind of like these little shorter, kind of chunky boy skeletons. It's quite cool.
Yeah, I'm not into the chunky vibe, man.
I'm not that sure about the big tall ones like this, but I do like this one for some reason. There's something cool about it.
I wonder what Tomb Kings players think of Ocelot Bone Reapers. Do you think their hunger was sated by
Well,
that release?
if I was a Tomb Kings player, I would have thought, well, you know what? They're completely changing all the races when they come back. So we're just getting the same treatment as everybody else. And then they see the Soulblight Gravelords, and they look over at the Vampire Counts player. Think that's what they wanted, I think. You just want an update. You want all the models to look better, but still in keeping with the old aesthetic. And
Well,
most didn't get that.
Where do you put the Soulblights then? They're not order, right? They're not destruction. They're not chaos. Where do they go?
Isn't death its own?
Death is, of course, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe me, death. Right. So does Nagash have rule over them as well? I mean, because Ocelot Bone Reapers are like Nagash's, elite force, right? So
I would assume
and
Nagash doesn't hold a lot of sway over some of the like senior vampires, but I couldn't say that for a fact.
yeah, well, there is a sort of a long-standing thing going in there between Manfred von Karstein, and Nagash, but so maybe these Soulblights are Manfred's children of the night.
Okay, let's have a look at some of this other stuff that they revealed. Necromunda, I'm not going to have too much of a look at this, but we might actually find a model here with a similar pose. I'm not sure if it was one of these, but these guys, pretty cool. They've got flaming hats on, flaming robes. There's lots of flame going on.
I like these guys. Look, they put these guys with guns, right? Couldn't they put them with flails and make some new flagellants? And get some, Cities of Sigmar things.
You could
going.
certainly convert them.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Necromunda set.
Don't you think they look a bit like 1990s a bit?
That's probably what they're going for, though, because that's when all the Necromunda factions were designed. And they are keeping fairly true to the old look.
What's this? Is this a new Necromunda box? Because I thought they already...
It looks like a new Necromunda box, yes.
But the Escher gang, they already put that out.
Well, it's in the box now.
The reason why I say that is just that I've painted half my Escher gang. I've just got the last 5 to paint. So they're next up on the Remington's painting block, and then I've got my own gang.
It's a mechanical dude, yay!
Welcome, Brad. Hello, Brad. Welcome, Sidakurukan.
Yeah, the audience is like a hive of activity down there in the chat at the moment. So no, you definitely didn't miss the new deep bath segment. That'll be coming up at some point tonight. Stay tuned for that. Tank.
Are you loving all this? Is this Sisters of Battle?
Certainly looks like it.
What do you think? You love it?
I think they're very cool, actually.
They're a bit smaller in real life, you know, all these Sisters of Battle models.
We've actually got some more Sisters of Battle stuff coming up on another page in a moment. So we'll have a proper look at those in a minute. What do you think of this?
What, the tanks or the... Oh my god, they look amazing.
Bit of a Savage Orc vibe with a little goblin or something hanging off the back on a giant squig.
I love it. I want it for Age of Sigmar. It's completely wasted for 40k. There you go. These look wicked.
New kind of squig beast by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's for 40k though, isn't it?
Let's see.
I'm pretty sure it is. That sucks, man.
I assume it is. That's the end of that page.
I might be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you have to watch the video. I've seen the video. It's certainly...
Okay, let's have a look at the next page. So what have we got here? So, that pose I was telling you about. Isn't this almost identical? Sister of Battle. Standing perfectly upright with just a weapon held horizontal like that.
I think she looks great. She looks like a sort of a head teacher, doesn't she?
Your head teacher have candles.
Yeah, I approve. She's got to watch that candle wax doesn't splash her headache, because that could be quite painful.
Now, I do quite like this, because it addresses a bit of a pet peeve of mine when it comes to large, kind of mechanical, stompy robot models. They're supposed to be fighting infantry a lot of the time, and their weapons rarely look like they can actually reach them. However, that seems to have been addressed here with these big kind of swinging chains. It's a nice touch, I think. It's like a sarcophagus mounted on a big stumpy robot.
Yeah, it's just like a sarcophagus, isn't it? I like these guys. I like the ones where you can see the man inside it. That's you can see the man being his soul sort of being torn apart, but operating this deadly machine. But I often wonder, Andy, do you know what I'm talking about, don't you? I can't remember what they're called, but you see like a sort of semi-naked guy that's been, you know, hooked up to this machine and some sort of
yes, and it looks like he should actually be surrounded in armor so he doesn't just get shot.
Yeah, but wouldn't you just, like, literally, if you were in the battle, wouldn't your commander just say, yeah, just shoot that naked guy who's obviously operating the machine without any armor on? Yes, a penitent engine. Thanks, Jasper. Maybe they've got some kind of force field. Who knows?
And what's this? Another model with the same pose.
Yeah, optional head without candles to avoid burning. I like those eyes. They're kind of crazy, man. Robotic.
Okay. Next, Cursed City. So, this is something you're actually planning to get yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, this is going to be mine. I'm going to buy this. It's going to take me about a year to paint it. And I'm going to struggle finding anyone to play it with. I'm probably not going to read the rules clearly enough. And there you go. But I'm going to have fun while doing it. But they look wicked, man. Look at that rat pack. Look at that skeleton. Look at the bat swarm. That's just a few of the many miniatures inside it. And do you know what I will use? The heroes in this box. They can go straight in my Cities of Sigmar army. Guaranteed.
Now, I feel like GW might be ripping us off here again, because sink your teeth into Cursed City. That is definitely a phrase that you would hear on this show. I'm always telling people to sink their teeth into things.
Yes. Yes, you are. Are you tempted by this box, Andy?
I'm not personally.
I'm not. Well, I'm not sharing it with you, so if you want it, you have to get it.
Well, I think I can live with that. It is nice though.
Would you fancy a game?
Yes.
Okay.
Heard it here first, folks.
So, yeah, maybe I can send you the rules. You can read the rules, and I can come round. We can have a game. How about
More
that?
Cursed City stuff here. You can actually see the whole contents. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. We have actually seen the price for this now, haven't we?
No,
I'm sure someone
we've
was talking
guessed.
about the price of it. If someone
It,
knows
it
the price for this box, put it in the chat right now.
it seems very similar. I mean, it's Warhammer Quest, isn't it? So it's probably going to follow the same sort of activation dice and dice pools. It looks very similar to sort of Silver Tower
It does.
vibe. Oh, I was hoping maybe they could have had more sort of 3D or different leveled sort of scenery to go with it, you know. But
William says £125, which has been backed up there. So apparently £125.
125. So what's the best price I could get that? I think I could maybe 100 quid.
Somewhere around there if you go to one of the third-party retailers.
Yeah, £100. What are you getting? You're getting a lot of gear there, aren't you?
Getting a lot. Each one of those things is like a project in itself, every model there.
I mean, each hero in that might retail for what, 20 quid? 15, 20 quid?
Probably £15 for a little infantry hero nowadays. So you wouldn't get many of them for 100. And there's a couple of juicy big monsters in there as well.
Yeah, and you know, the evil, the baddies, let's say the baddies, the death models in here, you know, you can use them for your Soulblight Gravelords army, right? I'm sure of it.
I'm sure you
So
can.
you're getting multiple uses in this box. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I
the
can't
8
see.
heroes alone, you think if they were released individually, you went into Games Workshop to buy all of those,
100 quid.
you'd probably end up paying as much as you're paying for this entire game.
Definitely. £100 right there. Yeah, 42 hostiles. 42. I mean, just the extra stuff, like the objective models, loads of fun in there. What seems different about this set is the different dice, Andy. And I know you love your dice, but we've got 12-sided dice there. We've got these odd pyramid sort of, no, diamond-shaped dice.
Yeah, they don't look particularly fancy, any of the dice in there, but some of them with different numbers of sides, certainly. So when we actually see them in a bit more detail than this, we will dedicate a dice watch segment
Now,
to
Derek
Cursed City.
Hodge. Hello, Derek. Derek's put an interesting comment there. It's going to be in very short supply. Don't expect a big discount on launch.
Is
So,
Remington going to get in there before it's sold out? It's what everyone's thinking
I
right
will.
now.
I'll get it at full price if I can. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I've been saving up. Yeah, but is it a coincidence, Andy, that all this stuff has launched, or pre-ordered right now? Do you think it's just coincidence? We'll come to that in a bit, right? I don't think it is.
Well, let's blitz through the rest of this stuff, because there's
Yeah.
still quite a bit to go. So there's all this new Lumineth stuff on the horizon, which we have seen before, but there's some new pictures been put out there.
Amazing, man. Look at this stuff. It's so good.
The
I mean,
Sky Cow Fox.
yeah, I love it. I love it. As mentioned before, very similar to the Celestial Prime, is it? Celestant
Celestant
Prime.
Prime.
Kind of like these guys. These are the kangaroos. They kind of got used to them a bit now, I suppose.
A little bit weird looking.
Yeah.
This one pretty cool as well.
Amazing. You see, the price of it, these aren't cheap, Annie. I'm telling you now. These are like the most expensive faction, I think. Might be wrong there, but it seems that way.
And here's the one on the cloud. That's a personal favourite of yours. Cool.
Amazing. The wizards look phenomenal on this. Yeah, I think he looks better in 360. This guy. You're a fan of Monkey Magic, man. But yeah, do you like this guy better or the guy sort of sitting cross-legged?
I think this one looks very cool, actually, very dynamic, and you get a sense of motion with this one, which I like.
You know, I don't know about you, Andy, but I love the little trees. I love the sort of zen shrubbery of the Lumineth.
And there's this one where the connection point between two entire miniatures is the tip of a toe.
Amazing.
Just don't transport it anywhere.
She really should have dressed for battle a bit more, though. I mean, she's asking to get, injured. Any sharp objects are just going to.
Do you need to be dressed for battle if you're standing on top of somebody else?
Well, I suppose if you're floating and flying through, but there's arrows, isn't there? There's bolts and all
It's
sorts
true.
of things.
Swords, which I think we agreed were a step forward from the kind of croquet hammers that we weren't a fan of.
Yeah, we mentioned these guys, didn't we? They look a bit top heavy, don't they, with the tall hats? Maybe they look better if they were stood on something. I don't know. You like your sword masters?
Massive banner,
Amazing.
very nice looking arrows going into their bolt thrower there. And this piece of terrain, which I'm sure lots of people are going to get just because it's very cool, even if they're not planning to use it for any particular army or project. It's just a nice thing to have, I think.
That's amazing too. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the prices of these, Andy, but Jesus, mate.
Have you seen the prices?
I've seen the prices, mate, and you're not going to be happy.
I think we can analyse the prices on another episode.
Yeah.
There's a new Nurgle box here.
Is it though? Is it new?
Well, I don't think anything in there is new, actually. I think it's just stuff that they've bundled together. So you've got like Sloppity Bile Piper in there.
Yeah. So you got the heroes and 20 or so plague demons. Or not plague demons. What are they called? I can't remember. Dead plague walkers. They keep changing the blood name.
Yeah, what are they even called now? It's still called plague bearers.
Andy, I don't think you should just brush past those two Cities of Sigmar models there.
Okay.
I think that's heresy in itself. Let's have a look. We've got the Luminarch, the Luminarch, right? And the spinny one. Is it? I love these models. I'm so glad that they've brought them out in a double box set like that. Hopefully, it means that they're not going to be retired.
Unless they want to sell off the last of the stock.
I have the Celestial Luminarch. No, the Celestial. Oh, I've got the Luminarch, the laser gun. I've got that one. Okay. And I've got the parts to build the Globy one.
But I've also Hurricanum.
Yes, thank you, Stu. But I've also got the Altar of Sigmar, which is basically the same model, the horse and carriage, but with a giant golden griffin on top. So I've kind of got these already, I suppose. But it's good to see they've not been put on the.
What about these ghouls? They must be feeling pretty sad at the moment. Kind of being upstaged by all the other dead things out there, all the other undead forces.
It's just me, but the ghouls having their own faction. It's just a bit bland for the flesh eater courts. It's a bit bland. I mean, the lore. I love the lore. They all think they're Bretonnian knights, but shouldn't they maybe have some Bretonnian heraldry or some kind of, maybe some of them having some of the old cast-off armor or heraldry?
If that's what they're going with, then yes. I think ghouls as a faction, as a concept, is fine. But what have they got really? They've got the ghouls, and then they've got this kit, which they didn't really release new ways of building it. They just told you, hey, you can use these heads with this, and you can make them into this third option now, didn't they? So, not too much to get your fangs into.
No, I painted about 20 of those ghouls, and the thing is, when they're on the table, you're just looking at their arched backs because they're all hunched over. You can't actually see their faces on the battlefield, so they'll kind of look. Yeah.
Bone Reapers, skip past those a bit. 40k stuff, giant Space Marine. I think this is a giant Space Marine, actually. Okay. Next, more Cursed City stuff. What are they going to show us here? Heroes. They've got some of the rules So anyone that's interested in that, there was a video apparently that GW put out showing you how to play this game.
Hmm.
So the rules, having snippets of those is a nice accompaniment to that. We're not going to spend too much time on that now, because otherwise we'll never get to anything else during this episode.
These
This
are
is
amazing, man. All these in one box. I mean, how dare they just make this limited? That'd be such a shame. If
well,
I've got a feeling they're going to sell out.
well, you better get in there early. You better be refreshing it at release time. Okay, the lizards. Now we've looked at these as well, but some more stuff, mostly artwork and rules and cards, have been revealed for these.
Yeah, cool, man.
It's really nice and colourful.
Cool. I mean, the Slan and or the Lizard Men or Seraphon. This is kind of one of the oldest Games Workshop Warhammer Fantasy factions ever, isn't it? I mean, I remember getting Slan models from the early 80s.
Yeah, they kind of disappeared for a while, didn't they? And then they popped back up in the mid-90s.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
terrific. Of course, Ian Livingstone and Fighting Fantasy books. You had one of the books was the Island of the Lizard King. Any old schoolers remember that? So maybe that influenced things.
Now, New Model Monday. What do you think of this vampire?
Wow, I have not seen this, and I love it.
I have some thoughts that aren't all positive. There are
Oh,
aspects to this model that I very much like. I
yes,
think the sword is nice. I like this kind of fur or feathering around the top of the outfit. I think the mask's a cool idea. I'm not so keen on these big, long, textureless bits.
uh,
So the
now,
entire bit of the clothing all the way down here, and the hair as well, which doesn't have a lot going on. If you think of some of the sculpted hairstyles from the past, you think of things like dwarven beards. The amount of detail, like the strands of hair being woven past each other, very elaborate. Whereas this, it's kind of just the hair and the outfit from this point down looks like I could have sculpted it, which is not a good sign.
no, Andy, I've got to correct you. In my opinion, this is phenomenal, and the sleekness, the openness of the cloak. Is it a cloak or is it a coat? I don't know. It's just wonderful. If you've painted any of the Nighthaunt models, can I ask you, have you?
No,
No, well, I've done a Nighthaunt army.
they have a lot of the long, smooth kind of danglage as
Yeah.
well, don't they?
They're really nice to paint, really easy to paint, really quick to paint, but also for the expert painter, you can get such wonderful tones going on and shades, but also for the triple expert painter, you can put all the sort of pageantry on those sort of surfaces. So you could get a heck of a lot of detail on it if you want to. But I just think it goes so beautifully. It looks like she's, a not what's the word? It's not courtesan, but she's a courtier, you know? She belongs in a court. I just think it's opulent. Yeah. She's got a big forehead, hasn't she? Flipping heck, you'd think she might comb her hair forward to hide that, but
I know that hair really isn't doing it for me, and I'm not really a big fan of the ghosts with the long, smooth bits hanging off them. Just I don't like all that flat nothingness. I want to see some texture on there.
yeah, well, maybe she doesn't like you, Andy. You thought about
Well,
that?
that's fair
And
enough.
she,
I'll
she's
accept
got
that. I'm willing
something
to take
for
that
you.
risk.
Are you willing to take the blood kiss? 'Cause that's what's coming.
Well, you have to invite them in,
Yeah.
because I think it's pretty easy to avoid in that case.
One thing I've noticed, Andy, is a lot of these sort of new miniatures, they don't have loads of crap on them. Like she's not got loads of baggage. She's not got potions and pouches. They've just come dressed very simply, haven't they?
Got some backup here from Roshi, who says the hair doesn't quite work for me. And yeah, I agree. I think the hair is letting this one down.
Well, you could change the head, I suppose, right? I mean, if you did change the head, it could be just It wouldn't be a vampire no more, would it? It'd be something else.
It's too simple for my liking.
It's not simple. That is not a simple haircut. That's pretty quite
The
difficult to
sculpting is
pull off.
simple. It's just long, curved lines. There's not enough going on for my liking. I want to see. In the real world, you see some very elaborate hairstyles, and you would think that a vampire would want to make themselves stand out from the crowd, wouldn't you? There's all kinds of inspiration you can see out in the real world for zany hairstyles. I wouldn't mind seeing one of those. Anyway,
I like it. I like it. What's this for then? What is this for? Cursed City? Is it for Soulblight? What's it
too
for?
late, we've moved on. Look at this, it's time for... no, it didn't play. Why? Hold on. I'm going to fix this. I'm not going to let this go. You know what? It's disappeared. So I'm just going to say it. Hold on, here we go. Cha-ching! Remington's Millions. Off you go.
Oh, okay. So what are we looking at here, Andy? Well, this is the year-to-date stock market price and movements of Games Workshop shares, and it's currently sitting at £98.61. So don't think that that's 9 pence or well, it's 9,008. It's over nearly 10,000 pence. Okay, so it's nearly £100. Not nearly 100. Yes, it's nearly £100 a share. Anyway, I sold all my shares, as you know, but I bought 0.1 shares just to keep my foot in the door, so to speak. And you can see on the dotted line, that's where I bought my shares. And you can see that the price has kind of done a little camel hump over these last couple of months. And we've been heading downwards for the last 2 months. And we're finding some support there
It's
around
levelling out a bit, it looks like.
leveling out. So what we could see is more leveling out for a little while and then some big breakout move, either to the upside or downside. I would propose it's more likely to be to the upside simply because of all the releases they're putting out and all the good stuff. Games Workshop keep making lots of money, so why wouldn't the stock price go up, right?
Well,
There you go.
so I'm going to close this, and we're just going to have this resting on the screen for a minute. This little comic from GW. But it's time for a brand new segment now. Remington is going to dispense some advice in a segment we here on the Andy and Rem Show like to call...
Remington's Hot Tip. Ooh.
There you go. Remington's Hot Tip. Take it away.
So today's hot tip is talking about the macro environment when it comes to investing and thinking about your investment choices and decisions. So what do I mean by that, Andy? Macro, the macrocosm. You've got the microcosm, you've got the macrocosm. Okay. So the microcosm is looking at things from the ground. The macrocosm is looking from things a lot further out. Okay, so as I said, if you look at Games Workshop, it's been growing, developing, growing, putting new things out, diversifying. Okay, so the macro environment looks good, wouldn't you say? All right, but is there a ceiling to that? Can it only go so far, or is there no end to what Games Workshop can achieve and where it can go? Well, we can certainly say that where it could expand is okay in the realm of Netflix shows, okay, having their IP used. Imagine Horus Heresy being a Netflix or Amazon Prime series, okay, or a HBO show. There's really no end to it. We've got 30, 40, maybe almost not 50 years, but maybe 45 years worth of lore and stories that Games Workshop owns. So there could be some phenomenal stuff. Just look at what, Marvel Studios, now owned by Disney, what Marvel has been able to achieve with the animations and film stories, movies, franchise based on its comics. All right. So why couldn't Games Workshop do the same thing in time?
So to boil down your hot tip, what's the takeaway snippet for people there?
Well, I think when you're looking at an investment, it's important to look at the macro environment as well. And also, obviously, what any investor's advisor is going to ask you, Andy, is what is your time horizon? Are you thinking 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, or 20 years? I think a lot of people, when they invest in something, they want an almost instant return. Um, and if you're going to do that, that's not investing. Okay, that's not investing. That is gambling, or that's maybe just swing trading. But if you're a real investor, if you take a loss to start with, or in the short term, you won't really be too bothered because you're looking at the macro environment. Okay, so you'll you'll have conviction in what you do.
Okay, I think the snippet was longer than the original description. But, so, next week we'll have another one of these.
Remington's hot tip. Ooh.
There you go, so you can look forward to that. Remington is going to be putting his thinking cap on every week, coming up with a brand new hot tip to share with the world.
Yeah, give me some feedback, guys. I don't know if you enjoy that, or whether it's interesting or not. If you disagree, please state your case.
Well, another funny little bit of content from GW here, which people can look at for a minute, but not too exciting. So let's move on to this. So, most photorealistic Warhammer animation yet. Let's have a look. How does that look? Does that look photorealistic to you?
He looks like movie star who was an ex-wrestler. Looks like familiar, doesn't he?
It does look like a real thing you can touch, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, he looks kind of alpha, right?
So,
Android.
keep our eyes on that. See what's going on with Altar of Wrath. This is another little image they put out. Looked at Cursed City enough, I think, so we'll skip straight past that. And now, last week, we were looking at the Ark World Kickstarter, and I think it's finished a little while ago. So let's have a look how much it made.
Wow, that's a cool animation.
Where does it even tell you? It's definitely funded.
Nearly 10 grand.
Oh, there you go. 166 backers, almost 10,000.
That's amazing. And what they were looking for was only £1,000, wasn't it?
I think that was the base. So obviously it was down to the appearance on this show that pushed it through the stratosphere.
Wow. So Andy, the £10,000 proposed base rate was multiplied by 10x simply by Alex, the creator and owner of Warplock Miniatures, coming on this show. 10x value. That's what we offer.
So this guy was unlocked. It's Chieftain. Final day. And let's see what else popped up.
Were all the things unlocked? Is there anything not unlocked?
I'm not sure whether anything was left on the table, but anything that was left, I'm sure, will see the light of day in due course.
Do you think a sculptor, a designer, if something's not been unlocked, do you think they're like, oh man? Or do you think they breathe a sigh of relief because they don't have to?
It depends what it is, I think. And you never know when a project's going to go totally out of control. So I think they have like levels of backup. So they'll have like concept art for things that maybe they weren't planning on doing, but they have just in case the project goes wild. But anyway, it's time to look at some community miniatures now. There's been a bit of a build-up the last couple of weeks. I'm going to look at some of those, and there's something of mine coming up in a minute as well. So these grots, these goblins, if you will, are from Roshi.
These look wicked, man. Really nice.
Very snazzy nettage there.
Yeah.
And that looks like a gigantic spider on its side in the background there.
It does, doesn't it? It does. I think. Yeah, I'm guilty of this. I just take the photo really quickly, and I don't put. I don't think about what they stood on and the
So you just take
environment.
them on a cutting mat.
Yeah, yeah, I do. But it throws you. If you put these on, I mean, I don't need to tell you, but I think the whole photo would look even better. But you've done a great job with the miniatures. They look phenomenal, man. Can't
Um,
ask for more.
how about these? There's some more. You know what? I really like the moons on the shields here.
Yeah,
Definitely
look
draws the
like
eye.
it's clean, isn't it? It's clean, but it's not basic. There's some wonderful shading going on and highlighting. Really expressive faces.
Very nice indeed. Next, this is from Fluke Skywalker. All these were submitted on the Discord server, by the way.
Right.
And
right,
I think we
right.
might need to zoom in on this one. Oh, that's a zoom, all right. Let's have a look.
This looks like the original or the old version of Be'lakor.
I think it is. So
It's like
very kind of
molten lava.
flaming effect, very hot effect got going on there. I don't think zooming in that far does it justice, really. I think when you can see the whole picture, you get a better idea, don't you?
It looks like a metal miniature. I don't know if it is or not, but it certainly looks like one.
Hot is the word we could use to describe that one.
No, it's like it's been sent back to the hell, and now he's like trying to get back.
This is from Cedar. Now, this is a very interesting little setup here. Sand.
Yeah, who are these guys? It looks almost like Asterix and Obelix kind of vibe there.
Now, the miniature in the middle, I'm not sure because I've never seen it painted this way. Is that the Bad Squiddo miniature?
I don't know. I do like him though.
I assume Cedar is watching this right now, so can confirm to us what these miniatures are.
Are those miniatures on a cat litter?
Maybe we'll get some confirmation on that as well.
That's a good idea.
The bases are kind of embedded a bit in the material. You often see when there's like a diorama, often they don't use the bases for the miniatures, they kind of plug them directly into the terrain sometimes, don't they?
Yeah.
The bases are kind of hidden here.
The Cedar said it's a bad squirrel cat.
Interesting.
Nice. What the bird men? Were they bad squiddo?
Don't think so.
Kind of cool. What game do you use these for then?
I think has that auto-corrected Squiddo into Squirrel there? Because Bad Squiddo does have a cat warrior that looks very similar to this, so I think it might be that one. Yeah, there you go. I was right. So it's Bad Squiddo, Cat Warrior, and Northumbrian Tin Soldier on old tea bags.
Very resourceful. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, which magnificent artist could have conjured up this marvel?
I don't know. It's a decent photo, isn't it? Is that in a light box as well?
Well, this does have a nice light shining on it, and upping my photography game. And these are Kings of War Night Stalkers Butchers, which are a big, juicy infantry unit, and they certainly live up to their name. And I've gone for the kind of pinky purpley with neon furry undergarment look.
I'm not sure about the neon, but I know it's consistent across your army, isn't it? Could you use these as pink horrors? Or are they too big for that?
Might be able to if you wanted to.
So Brad says, hey Brad says, what paints did you use for this?
Okay, so yeah, actually, I think I was asked what paints I used for these models, and then I never got around to posting the list because I forgot to do it. So, let's see. They were undercoated with white, and then there was contrast paints used. Let's see, where are they? So I can give you the exact shades. Because there's two contrast paints which are really weird. Because one of them's pink and one of them's purple. Here they are. So, Majos purple and Volupus pink You would think that the pink one would be pink and the purple one would be purple, but the purple one is actually way more pink, and that is the one that I believe I used on the main areas of the flesh here.
Mm.
And there's some dry brushing of white over the top of it, and to build up the colour towards the end of the tentacle limbs, then I applied more coats of it progressively towards the end of the arms, so it gets darker.
Nice. It looks like you're having fun with the contrast paints, Andy. Would you recommend?
I would definitely recommend them for miniatures like this, where there's a lot. It's a very textured miniature, but there's not a lot of accessories on it. So there's a lot of flesh and detail and muscle rippling and tentacles, but there's not a lot of bits that you would want to pick out in a different colour.
Right, yeah.
So for that, I think contrast paints are a very good choice, because you want them to have a lot of recesses and detail to work with. But you also don't want to spill them onto the wrong part of the miniature.
No.
So
does this mark the end of your horror army?
no, I've got loads more to do.
Ah.
But I like these guys. There's a spider. This is Bad Squiddo. Bad Squiddo Scenics. This is a spider nest here.
Nice.
And there's the bottom of it with a nice web and some mushrooms growing on the tree there. Some of the little bugs basing kit, also from Bad Squiddo, walking around the feet.
Good detail on the web there.
Oh, before we go on to the next thing, so the other paints, I believe the green, it's kind of the green slime across all of the miniatures I've done for this army, is Tamiya Clear Green, which I apply after the varnish. So you get the nice shine from it, and then I put gloss varnish onto anywhere that I want to be shiny, like the tongues or the insects, spiders and all that. And let's see, the tentacles on their heads are not contrast. They are done in various shades of purple. So starting off with a very dark one and then working up to a lighter one, and then putting a purple wash over it to kind of tie it all together so it doesn't look quite so stark. Then we've got some blood for the blood god on the ends of the weapons. Fingernails are just progressively lighter green highlights, so nothing too wild about that. And the neon green undergarments are, let's see, what's it actually called? Because it's not the green shade, it is the technical paint. Which is, there we go, Hexwraith Flame. So very bright and ghostly and ethereal looking. So that is what was used on their pants. There you go. Okay, next. These are from Darb on Discord. Magmadroths. 5 Magmadroths. Have you ever seen that many Magmadroths in one place?
Oh, they look stunning, don't they?
Well, we've got some nice pictures of each one of them individually here. So there's the first one. They're all in a different colour scheme, so I think we should decide which one is our favourite of the 5. So here's a blue one. Very nice.
I've never seen a blue Magmadroth before.
You have now. Very nice. We've got a green one.
Wow.
Again, tasty.
You can almost use that in a Seraphon army, couldn't you, for something?
Yeah, it's definitely consistent with that kind of scheme. Then we've got a black one. Very in keeping with the bases, this one. I like the colour transition going on with the long slithery tongue there.
The dwarf has got blackened skin.
Then we've got this bright yellow one with some black going on as well. This is another very nice one. I like this one a lot. This one is probably my favourite so far, but we've got one more to go.
Yep, got the golden dragon.
It's a red one, which is another amazing one. I think this one and the yellow one are the 2 best, personally.
Yeah, red. I've seen red too many times now. I know they're meant to be like magma, and fire, and ready, but I like the blue one.
I really like the face on this one, but the yellow one, colour scheme might be my favourite. You liked the blue one.
Yeah,
Sort of-
just to be different from you.
It is nice to be different in the Magmadroth world, though, because you do see a lot of red.
Yeah, you can get blue flame, can't you?
You certainly can.
I like it.
Okay, so we're going to rest on the yellow Magmadroth, and we're going to go into the segment everyone's been waiting for. That is...
Andy's Deep Bar.
Okay, everyone, you have now entered Andy's Deep Bath. If you'd like to sit back in your chair, close your eyes, and relax. Take some deep breaths. You can almost feel the bubbles splashing against your flesh. In, breathe out. Imagine one of the bubbles floating up. You crack an eye open and you see that it contains Discord logo. Think how relaxing it would be. Head on over to the Andy and Rem Show Discord server. Join. Sharing a hobby love. Wait, there's another bubble. It's Facebook. Think what you could be doing right now. You could be scrolling down the Andy and Rem Show Facebook. Deep, deep in relaxation, spiritual fulfillment. Knowing that no Andy and Rem Show content is beyond. No need to exert yourself, it's all right there, your fingertips. Wait, there's more. 2 bubbles rise simultaneously. Twitter, Instagram. Why not slide on over there as well? So you can allow yourself to be washed in the Andy and Rem Show goodness 7 days a week. That concludes the bath. I think we're all thoroughly relaxed, and it's time to get out of deep bath. Here you go.
You feel cleansed?
I think everyone feels spiritually cleansed in that deeply immersive segment. That'll return next week in another edition of
Andy's Deep Bar.
Go. You know what? Because this is clearly going to be the most popular segment on the show, I think we're going to start having like bubble animations going on at the same time.
Andy, you should, if you go on YouTube, there's a guy called the French Whisperer, and he basically puts you to sleep. So he just talks. I mean, he reads stories and, tells you to focus on your breathing and stuff. He's got such a relaxing voice. I think you should do a 10-minute video like that and just see, and just title the video Sleep Relaxation Soothing Voice or something like that, I think you'll get a lot of attention.
We'll
You've got the
see.
voice.
Oh no, Cedar has gone all wrinkly. You stayed in the deep bath too long.
Yeah.
Rookie mistake there. Gotta know when to get out.
You've got a big future, Andy, in putting people to sleep.
Well, the only person that we know of that's been put to sleep on this show before, with video evidence, is of course you. Don't know about any of the audience. We haven't heard any reports of people falling asleep.
They're enjoying it. Some have already fallen asleep. But this was such a packed full of goodness show, Andy, wasn't it? There's so much on here. And I didn't even get round to doing a live unpacking of my new Mortal Realms that have been sent to me.
Well, you know what you could do? You could unbox that live on your channel sometime this week.
Oh, but then I can't open it yet. I want to.
Well, why don't you do it tomorrow then?
Tomorrow I'm working all day.
Well, why don't you do it? When are you going to open it? When were you planning to open it?
Oh, tonight.
Well, why don't you just point the camera at it and do it tonight then after the show?
Oh. What? And literally just put that out? I could do that. I think I could do that.
We could send people over to your channel right now.
That'd be so funny. What? Shall I video it right now on air?
Well, after we go off the air here, people should head straight over to your channel for a live unboxing. Think of all the extra views and subscribers you could get.
I might do. But I've got to take the dog home. See, there's always something to do.
Well,
It's
whenever
just
you're going to open it, just point the camera at it.
Okay, it's going to be really wobbly, but let's do it just to see how many. If I get a handful of views, I'll be happy. It's. I haven't put a video out for so long. It would be like kind of cool just even getting 1 or 2 views.
There you go. And then when the video's up, I'll put a link to it in the description for this video as well, just to make sure people can find it who are watching this later.
Hold on, I can do it now. Go live. Hold on, how do I record?
You're going live
Oh my God,
simultaneously.
go live. I'm
You
going to go
don't want to
live
steal
now.
the audience from this show.
Okay. Your channel does not meet our updated eligibility requirements for mobile streaming.
Oh no, I think you need to have 1,000 subscribers for that.
Oh, come on, man. That's okay. I'm just going to video it then on my camera, and then I can upload it afterwards. And they can't stop that.
They certainly can't. So
Alright,
I think it's about time to wrap up this show.
Okay.
So we don't need to go through all the social media stuff because that was covered in the deep relaxing bath segment a very short time ago. And Cedar is apparently still in the bath. You are going to turn into a giant prune at this rate, so I would advise getting out of the bath now. I did tell everyone to get out of the bath earlier, so if you weren't listening, I'm not responsible for any prunalization that occurs. So don't forget, tune in next week because, with any luck, we will have Annie here to talk about her Kickstarter, which should have launched by then. So that's going to be very exciting. More juicy Bad Squiddo content. And there are more guests brewing on the stove as well. Almost ready for consumption by your eyeballs and your ears.
Yeah, we've had some tremendous guests recently. I have to applaud ourselves for getting such high quality movers and shakers of the hobby on our show. And you know, yeah.
So before we go, of course, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't. And it's now time for us to have a quick look at the episode thumbnail. And don't forget to stick around for What the Hell Is That as well, which is coming up. Nobody has correctly guessed last week's What the Hell Is That yet. So after this, if you want to go back to last week's episode and watch the end of it, then you can guess that one as well. But this one will be coming up at the end. So first of all, I'm going to personally thank all of the patrons who, you know what, I think next week I'm going to incorporate thanking the patrons into the deep bath segment as well. I think they'd appreciate that, being in the hot tub with me.
Yeah.
So a personal thank you to the following people who are not currently in the bath, but next week they will be joining me in. So thanks to Cedar, Roshi, Tim, John, Graham, Eric, Brad, Barbara, and Guy. All of you will be joining me in the deep bath next week. For now, just remain in the changing rooms getting ready.
And
Mr.
Andrew,
Remington.
while you're preparing that, I've just had a potential $100 idea rather than the $1 million one. In your show titles, you might want to say Soulblight Gravelords or something like that, or rather than catching up with GW. Oh my!
You think we should turn into a clickbait channel?
Absolutely, man.
Okay, let's do it. I'll change it immediately after the show.
I love it. Let's see what happens. Can we get more than a couple of hundred views? Which those views are highly valued, mind you, because they are the true fans of this show.
And
That's
for anyone that's still here, there is a special point of interest next week. It's the first edition of Forest of Rem Season 3.
Oh, God.
And there's a twist this time. You're used to a certain way of doing things on the Forest of Rem, but something is going to be turned on its head, and you'll only find out what that is if you tune in next week on the Andy and Rem Show. Don't miss it. And now it's time to say farewell and to present you with What the Hell Is That? Tell me which miniature is depicted hidden amongst another photo. Put it in the comments after the show, and whoever gets it right will be the winner. So, all that remains to be said at this point is, good night out there. Whatever you
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it Sigmar's beard or Neferata's hat? Oh, what the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? Is it a mangled squig or a sorcerer's rat? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington know.